So after the Enzo, I was quite well worn out of carbon fiber. I was kind of happy knowing this car didn't have a whole lot of carbon fiber. As you could see, that was all bullshit. It's like any good base for carbon fiber, we got to make sure everything is nice, flat, and free of any defects. And for us, unfortunately, this old kit was not nice, flat, or free of any defects. So after tons of sanding, I finally got this somewhat presentable. What we're looking at there is a defect in the plastic, not a high or a low spot, just a little glitch in the matrix. Carbon fiber all starts the same with some templates. It's real simple, really, just very time consuming. I press the tape down around the edges, then I kind of go around it with a pin. And the key to a good template is nice, crisp lines. Sometimes we got to get creative and make some shims so we can get straight lines. Luckily, the Mclaren was more function over form, so none of the carbon fiber really matched up. I've decided I want all mine going down and to the right. So that's going to be our base. So let's get our brushes wet and get to doing some carbon fiber. Yay! Here's some friendly advice. Always cut on the outside of your line and err in the favor of it being too large, because it is very easy to go back and trim it and make it fit, as opposed to wasting precious carbon fiber decals because you made it too small and it doesn't fit. And for those of you wondering, I'm using Zoom on carbon fiber. It is so much nicer to work with than the Scale Motorsport stuff that I was using for the Enzo. I don't know how they do it, but it is somehow stronger yet more malleable, so it just conforms and bends and sucks down around everything it's supposed to, just so much nicer. Here's another friendly little tip. For these very odd shapes, such as this where we got to go around a junction block, a computer, and a fire extinguisher, instead of trying to lay down just one huge piece of tape and trying to trace around it, instead put down a whole bunch of little pieces of tape. It is so much easier. You can also see if your tape cutout's actually going to fit, because it's easier to fix it now as opposed to doing it later on your actual carbon fiber. I'm guessing you guys get the hint, so I'm going to jump ahead here. So as you're about to see here, what we're looking at, this odd shape here, is about 20 different small pieces of tape. They all equate to a perfect fitting template, which you will see later. Anywho, let's get to what you guys all came here to see. The part that I find incredibly boring, but you guys seem to like for whatever reason. It's time to actually install all this carbon fiber. Or I guess it'd be more me applying it, not so much as me installing it. And as always, I like to pre-wet the area with some microsol. That does two things. The microsol softens up the decal to make it more malleable, but with a wet base, it's easier to move the carbon fiber around. I'm gonna kind of apologize in advance if when I jump in for the voiceovers, if I sound out of breath, it's because I am. And it's probably not so much that I'm out of breath, it's just that I might be having a panic attack. I don't know what's going on here. But if any of you watch the news, you may have heard that a small town called Andover, Kansas just got wrecked by a couple tornadoes. We found out that the original touchdown happened about a half a mile south of my house. And even though it happened yesterday, I don't know why I still feel this way. I'm a man. I'm stronger than this. I cannot appear weak before my enemies. You understand? I might have overshared, so let's get back to the carbon fiber. What you saw me do is create a little mark there, because a lot of people don't understand that how we do this is we roll the Q-tip over it. We don't drag it. Now what I was planning to do was show the rolling action, but well, with hindsight being 2020, my finger is right over that little mark, and then I sped up this footage and you guys can't even tell. And to utilize the most of my precious time that I don't have these days, while the decal on the interior piece is drying, I'm going to jump over, apply a decal to the door. Then while it's drying, I'm going to jump back over to the interior. You just keep jumping back and forth, vice versa, while the pieces are drying. So if these segments seem out of order and don't make any sense, don't worry, because it never makes sense. That's just how I do things. Before I got too carried away getting more carbon fiber laid out, I figured it'd be a good time to kind of mock all this up so I could use it as a foundation to get the roll cage built. I'm going to tell you guys in advance that that dashboard has absolutely zero locating tabs. So this was kind of a pain. And as you'll see at the oh damn it. As I was saying, as at the end of the video, you'll see that when I go to finally button it all up and finish it and pan out, the roll cage doesn't really fit. Don't worry, super glue made it fit. As you can see on the A-pillar there on the passenger side, this already doesn't fit, and I went into this knowing that. I do know that this is plastic though, and it bends. So what I was going to do is kind of tweak it to make everything fit. And it works out, it didn't work out that well. I want to blame Fujimi for having almost no reference marks, just 4 locating pins on this whole thing that do not line up. But maybe I'm not that good of a modeler. It could very well be that I'm just not that good at this. With that out of the way though, let's get back to doing the carbon fiber. I always display these as static models and not really dynamic. I always have the doors and everything closed, but I still want to have some realism there. So I left this spot around the edge bare to simulate the weather stripping that these cars have. What I've been doing so far though is I've just been kind of placing the carbon fiber and then just turning off the camera and working it. So what I'm going to do now is kind of just show you very sped up and a truncated process of what I actually do. Now, even though this whole segment takes about 4 minutes long, in reality it took about 5, maybe 6 songs in length. The average song's what, 3.5, 4 minutes long, so 25, 30 minutes is what this actually took me to do. I try to make a habit of always going back and listening to these before I post them, just to make sure I don't miss anything. Right about now is where I'm kind of missing the music. Are you guys still good with just the voiceovers and no music? And knowing that the only music I play is that same old boring song? Let me know, because I'm doing this for you guys, not for me. So let me know what you guys want to see and hear. Decals about 99% there. I just gotta snip off the excess there and then let it dry. As it dries and the moisture pulls out, it's gonna suck down and conform and be a perfect fit. Now the right dimple there, I drilled it out because on the real GTR, the computer is in a passenger seat and it's got a bunch of wires and all kinds of ugly stuff running through there. So I'm going to duplicate it the best I can. And I'm going to tell you in advance, it is ugly. And if you go look at the reference photo of the real car, you'll see that I done a fairly decent job of mimicking all the wiring. It's really just that bad. McLaren didn't care. They just wanted a car that was fast. So do you guys kind of got a grasp of what I'm doing here? Do you understand that I'm just laying out a bunch of decals? I hope so, because I'm going to jump ahead now. What you're looking at now is the culmination of several nights, countless hours, and maybe 6 bottles of bourbon. This is a finished project. With the seat in place, there's nothing left bare. Even the back of the seat is carbon fibered. Now you'll have to use your imagination, but I'm going to show you one door panel. Just know that both of them are done. Oh wait, there's the other one. I also did the wing and the other thing. Where's it at? Oh, there it is. The rear fascia thing where the exhaust pokes through. Now it looks kind of weird, but all the raised areas there, they're bolts and rivets. I'm telling you guys, McLaren didn't care. And you know we're almost done because we're starting to apply the decals that came with the kit. This decal here, according to the instructions, is supposed to be just to the right of all the buttons, but still just right at the edge of the curvature there. I'm kind of thinking this decal was bigger than what they had thought because it overhangs there a little bit. I personally didn't like the way that looked, so I moved it inboard just a little bit. Now I'm somewhat happy with that layout because it looks a whole lot better. So I'm just going to kind of make it permanent and lock it in place with some micro set. Have no fear though, because the rest of the kit decals, they actually fit, and they fit fairly decently, as you're about to see. So I must be fairly clumsy because I've spilt this bottle twice now. And oh, I almost dropped it again. Wow. But as you can see, I don't have a whole lot left. So I spent about an hour in the garage and I made myself this fancy little holder. Now this is just a prototype that I mocked together with what I had on hand. Now eventually what I want to do is I'm going to drill some holes in the back right about there to hold some brushes. More about this later. For now though, let's get back to work. With all the carbon fiber done, I'm happy with the layout, so I'm going to seal it all in with some TS79, the semi-gloss clear from Tamiya. I'm going to set this off to the side for a little while to dry and work on some hand painting. Now the shifter lever and all the controls for the pedals, the clutch, the brake, the accelerator, it's all in this weird gold color. If you look at the real car, it's this weird orange gold color that I do not have. All I have is just regular gold, so that's what I used. From here though, everything is painted, dry. It's finally time for assembly so we could be done with this. Now if you remember earlier when I said that all the wiring in this, that Mclaren just didn't care and everything was ugly, this is actually photo accurate. Now I cut out the routing of all those wires because you guys have seen me do it before. It's nothing more than me routing spark plug wires, but this time I drilled into a computer instead of a distributor and ran them behind the control panel instead of on the spark plugs. It's the same thing, guys. You've seen it before. And done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pan out, show you the full piece, and then cue the still shots. Now I do realize this video may be a bit boring because it's just me basically installing decals. Just know that it was extremely time consuming on my end. So if you're actually watching this, thank you, thank you, thank you. See you in the next video.